Welcome to Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton, where we equip pastors to take their churches from declining to thriving by pointing them to a new future and a new hope. Join us weekly for encouragement and practical advice in your pastoring journey.
Welcome back to another edition of Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton. There's Mark. There's Mark Hallock.
Hey.
I'm Dan Hurst. There's Kyle Bierman. And we are talking about today a thing that is so critical in every relationship. Personal relationships, community relationships, church relationships. And that is foundational. And it's interesting that one of the key words in the Christian faith is the word trust. Trust. We're told to trust. We're to trust the Lord, and we have to trust each other. So let's talk today about issues of trust, building relationships of trust.
I would just like to say that as we start this podcast, that we should trust and obey, because there's no other way.
Sing it, brother.
To be happy
Sing it, brother.
in Jesus.
There could be a future in you.
But to trust
That's right.
and obey.
And obey. Thank you.
Thank you very
for
much. That's
clarifying.
all I have to add to this podcast.
I love it. Well, here's the thing. Why this is so important and why we're talking about this is if you are leading in church revitalization or replanting, if you do not earn trust, if you don't win the hearts of the people, they will not follow you to lead.
Earn.
To earn.
Earn is the word.
Yeah.
You don't get trust by showing up and becoming the pastor.
Yeah.
That's
Earn
right.
it.
That's right. You
Your
earn
title doesn't qualify.
And so 7 things, and this also comes, I had a pastor, this was a few months ago, who said, I'm walking into a church. What would you tell me to do? We talked about, preaching these things, but I said, here are 7 things when I look back that I think are key as you're winning the hearts of people. So here's number 1, ready? Be you. Be you. In other words, you need to be authentic. You need to be yourself. Trust grows when people see you're not pretending. You're not a fake, right? So be authentic. Be yourself. Be you. Don't try to be. There's nothing worse, for instance, than preachers who try to preach like somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And they're a bad version of that preacher. And sadly, some guys pastor in the same way.
H.B. Charles, this is a great statement. He says, be yourself, but don't preach yourself. A good teacher like John the Baptist clears the way, declares the way, and gets out of the way. So it's
good.
important
That's
to be yourself.
Yeah.
And, I'm a 65-year-old man in just a little bit under my football playing weight. Just a little bit. It would probably take me a few weeks to get back into my athletic form. But, when I was younger, I dressed younger. Dan knew me back in the day. I dressed in all kinds of loud clothes back in the 80s. I used to work at the old Home Mission Board back in the 80s during the Miami Vice days. And I had like lime green and yellow cotton sport coats, and I'd roll the sleeves up to my arms, and I had
man. I hope there's pictures of this somewhere.
Bright-colored shirts. Oh, there are. And at the Home Mission Board back in those days, you were supposed to wear a coat and tie every day. And so we came back from lunch one day, and there were like 15 memos. Back then, you didn't have emails. They just sent you memos on your desk. I had about 15 memos taped to my door that wanted to remind everybody about the dress code at the Home Mission Board. Everybody got one, but they all knew they were focused on me. So I used to dress like that. Then when I was in Canada 20 years ago, I dyed my hair blonde and had an earring and wore funky purple glasses because that was my age. I was in my 30s. I'm in my 60s now. So I show up in a sweater vest and fat man slacks and I have my gray beard. Because you want to be authentic. I don't want to show up in like tight jeans and sneakers and be who I'm not. Yeah. I see some pastors trying to put on a uniform or be different. Yeah. Just be who you are.
Totally, man.
The authenticity is so important.
And reaching young people, it's absolutely critical, man. Being fake, they can smell it from a mile away.
Yes.
So you've got to be you. Here's number 2. Listen actively. And here's what I mean by that. Show care by truly listening. Reflect back what you hear and avoid interrupting. 2 things that I know that I've had to grow in over the years is learning not to interrupt people. Part of that is I get so excited about everything, right? And it's not that my heart, it's just that I can interrupt people and not listen well. The other thing is when you're with somebody, be present with them. Don't be the guy, and we've all experienced this, you go to coffee with them and they're constantly looking around you, looking past you, looking at their watch. That's why put your phone away when you're meeting with somebody. It matters. People feel loved when they feel listened to. In fact, in James 1:19, everyone should be quick to listen, right? Slow to speak and slow to become angry. And what I would say is, are we quick to listen? Are we good listeners? If you're not a good listener, you're going to have a hard time earning trust in the church.
One of the ways, this is a totally secular skill. This is nothing spiritual about this, but it has helped me. If I'm watching a documentary, because I like documentaries, if I'm watching a documentary on television, I'm focused on that. I'm not going to talk back to the documentary. I want to hear what the narrator, if I'm watching Ken Burns on the Civil War, I'm not ready to interrupt Ken and tell him what I think about the Civil War. I'm listening to him. So when someone's talking to me, I try to think like, okay, I'm watching a documentary or a movie, and I got to hear what they have to say. So it kind of takes me, so I'm not thinking of the next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And I have a problem interrupting people. You probably have noticed that on this podcast. That's all right. The only person I don't interrupt is Jill.
She won't have it.
Rightly so.
It pretty much gives me the facial expressions.
Rightly so.
It's not quite time to talk yet. Yeah. But everybody else, I have a tendency to do that. And so I have to really work at listening and not thinking what I'm going to say next. And Hallock, if you complete somebody's sentence as a pastor, it's one of the worst things you can do.
Oh, man.
It just is. You're right.
Especially if you blow it, and you often will. Here's number 3, show consistency. Do what you say. Being reliable, even in the small things, earns deep respect. Integrity in your words and actions builds a dependable reputation. Matthew 5:37, let your yes be yes and your no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one. The worst thing you can do as a pastor is overpromise and underdeliver. Overpromise things. Oh, we got to do that. We'll do that. I'll call you. And you don't follow through over and over and over again. No. You need to show consistency. You need to do what you say. Otherwise, learn how to zip it. Don't make promises you can't follow through on. Again, you will hurt, even though your heart might be right. But people will be hurt by that, and they'll lose trust.
We make promises, as I just interrupted you. Sometimes we make promises because we are insecure. We want people to like us. I think if we're operating from a standpoint of security in the gospel, we can say no. I can't do that.
Yep.
But if we want everybody to like us, then we're going to say yes. And we end up overcommitting ourselves because we're insecure in who we are in Christ. I think that's real. I'm guilty.
Yep.
I do that all the time. I don't feel up to any job I've ever had, okay, except working maybe at Jack in the Box when I was in high school. Other than that, I've never felt capable, and I don't feel capable in this job.
Yeah.
And I look around and see other guys who have a platform like this, and they're just different. They're type A guys. They've been type A guys all their life. I've never been a type A guy. I was never chosen first in anything. The only athletic compliment I ever got in my life was good eye. And so, I mean, I always feel insecure.
Yeah, right.
So I tend to overcommit myself because I want to make sure people like me. And that's a sin, and it's not a trust in the gospel.
Yeah, that's good. So consistency is really important. Will you be known? Here's another way you could phrase it. Are you going to be known as a pastor that people look to and go, I know I can trust his word. Yeah. I know he'll show up.
That's great.
Or will you be the kind of pastor, I don't know. I don't know if pastor will show up. I hope he does. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that guy. Here's number 4. This is really important. In other words, pursue people, but know when to give space.
What do you mean by that?
Know when to give space. In other words, give others space to share at their own pace. Don't push or pry. Honor their dignity. Here's what I would say. In our church, part of our shepherding strategy is, we pursue people. And you guys have heard me talk about it. I mean, we have a pretty in-depth shepherding strategy. And so we want to pursue. At the same time, what we know is one of the best ways that you can love certain people is to actually not pursue them so intensely and give them space.
You just described my dating experience with my wife. I'm sitting here thinking, when I first met Jill, it was like, pursue. And after a while, she was like, back off. I mean, seriously.
Yep.
And I had to have a mentor in my life come and say, dude, You got to give her some space,
Yes.
And I was looking at that, and I'd say it was exactly it. And when I backed off and gave her space, she came around.
That's right.
Right? Now
So
she pursues me nonstop. It's really annoying.
Well, she's picking up after you. That's why.
No,
Well, you can overdo it. I mean, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing. You can mean well, but you can almost wear people off or scare them away. Again, now most pastors, I would say, don't have this problem. Most pastors, I would say, you need to pursue people way more intentionally than you are. But I put this in there because there are some that you pursue. Why aren't they haven't been around in 3 weeks or a month or 2 months, and you're actually driving them nuts. Where you need to just trust the Lord. The Lord's got them. Give them space. Keep praying for them. But let God do what He wants to do in them. Does that make sense?
It does. And part of that's just emotional intelligence,
It
being able
is.
to read people and read some guys. Some people just need more space than other people.
That's right. So number 1 is be you. Number 2 is listen actively. Number 3, show consistency. Number 4 is pursue, but know when to give space. Number 5 is follow through on commitments. So when you follow through, especially on small commitments, you build credibility, right? Luke 16:10 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Sometimes in the church, and here's what I would say, Pastor, it's true for all of us. You can't just expect everybody to trust you with much right away. You've got to show faithfulness in being trusted with little things, little confidentialities, little appointments, little things over time that then allow you to be entrusted with more and more and more. But don't complain about not being able to be entrusted with much when you haven't been faithful with little. Does that make sense? And so let's be focused on the little, be faithful there, and then trust the Lord to give us what He wants to give us over time. 2 more we've got, and then we'll be done. Number 6 is, oh boy, we've talked about this. Lean into the awkward.
Yeah, you've taught me so
Lean
much
into the
about that. Because, none of us want to do that.
Yep.
And all of us, after we do it, we never feel better by not leaning into the awkward.
Yep.
We always feel better when we do. So talk about what it means to lean into the awkward.
Well, here's how I tried to word it in a way that wasn't hurtful or offensive. When you try, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, I think, when you try and befriend someone who has a very different personality and wiring than you, and you will, don't avoid them, but lean in with love and grace. In other words, there's going to be folks you don't connect with, or it's a small group and it's just a weird bunch. And guess what? You're weird too. But I think the worst thing you can do as a pastor is habitually avoid those spaces, avoid those people. And some guys do. And then they wonder why the church doesn't love them and trust them. You need to pursue. In fact, I always think this. I think the Spirit, the very moment I want to run the other way,
Right.
is the moment that actually I probably need to press into the awkward
Right.
and move forward.
Yeah, somebody sends you a text and that they
Yep.
didn't like your sermon, or
Yep.
your kids are acting wild, or
Yep.
whatever, any number of things. The next time you see them at church, you don't dive into the janitor's closet because they're walking down the hall.
Yeah, that's right.
You just run up to them and just say, hey, man, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for the text. I probably needed that and probably need more.
Yep.
And so I keep loving that. You're not being disingenuous. Ask the Lord to give you that
That's
honest
right,
heart.
that's right.
And realize you are a much worse person than they could ever think you are.
Hey, that's right, that's right.
And love them and lean into that and model for your congregation how to lean into the. It's easy to love people who are easy to love.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the people Jesus loved, right?
Yes.
He loved people nobody else would. And talk about leaning into the awkward.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's right.
All those people were awkward. Leaning into Zacchaeus,
Oh, my
for goodness
gosh.
sake.
Yeah.
Right there. It's our model.
Yeah, as you do it, here's the thing. You're creating a culture in your church. As you talk about this, as you model it, as you just name the reality that, man, we're a bunch of weirdos here, And
Right.
it's like we got to love each other. What it does, it frees everybody up to love each other. And if you don't, or if you model the opposite, people will follow your lead.
And one of the ways even leaning into awkward is like when something happens in the worship service, if somebody's phone goes off,
Yes.
don't ridicule them for that.
No.
Don't make fun of them for
Yeah,
that.
kids screaming and everybody knows
Yeah,
it. That's a
don't-
chance to say, aren't you thankful we have little kids in this church?
Exactly. And we should do a whole session on special needs people and special needs kids. You know, we
Yeah.
got some kids that come that are autistic and that kind of thing, and they can be disruptive. And
Right.
how you lean into that and handle that is so vitally important. That's a whole nother podcast.
Because it'll shape how everybody else
It
treats
really
that.
will.
Yeah.
It really will.
That's right. The last one is this, and this is easier said than done. But number 7 is don't be easily offended. When those you're seeking to build relationship with seem uninterested or annoyed by you, and they will, right? They're going to be uninterested or maybe even annoyed. Don't take it personally, okay? Not everybody's going to love you the way you wish they did, right? And I think for me early on in ministry, I wanted everybody to like me, right? And it drove me nuts if anybody didn't. And what I've had to learn over the years is, listen, my job isn't to get everybody to love me. My job is to love everybody. And that's different. And you know what? If I love people, I do believe God uses that to win hearts and earn trust. But at the same time, there might be those, and I don't know why, and I'll never know why, that just don't like me or they come off that way. And what I've had to learn is my identity, and we've talked about this before, is not in everybody's approval of me. My identity is in the approval I already have in Jesus Christ. And nothing can touch that. And so that leads you to be a leader who has this indestructible love for people.
And when you encounter a leader that has these things, it's transforming to you. Hurst, you've been around just a little longer than me, and you've been in a lot of churches, served with a lot of pastors in a lot of different places. You got a pastor in mind that sort of emulated many of these things and how that affected you, or have you been fortunate enough to be with someone like that?
I have both.
Okay.
And Lou Miller, who was my senior pastor for several years when I was serving down in Florida, was the kind of guy that he loved the unlovable.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he wasn't the personality for that. I mean, the guy hated mayonnaise, and you can.
But he loved the New York Yankees.
But he loved the New York Yankees. But there was I remember, and a great example of this. Lou's gone on to be with the Lord, so I can talk about him now. But there was a time when there was a guy in our church who was a real problem. He had been he was a manipulator and he was a liar, and there were just a lot of things that he did wrong. And the guy, as he got older, he had a stroke, and he was in really bad shape, and he had really made life tough for Lou. And Lou would take one day a week, and his wife's name was Betty, not Lou's wife. This man's wife's name was Betty, and Betty was the caretaker. And he would say, Betty, you go find some time for yourself. You go shopping, do whatever you want to. I'm going to go over and spend time with you.
And how big was Lou's church at this time?
Probably around 500,
yeah,
600.
He had a lot to do.
Yeah. Oh man, he had way too much to do. But he would go and he would spend time with this guy, and he would, he would spoon feed him, and he would take care of him. I mean, he was just talking about leaning into the awkward. Right. He would do that, and so it was that was an intentional choice that nobody knew that he did. I knew he did it, but nobody else really knew he did other than the man's wife and all. But that was he lived it, in other words, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it was a lifestyle for him. He made the choice to make a difference in somebody's life because they had a need. And that's where I really discovered in my own life that love is allowing God to do something in someone else's life through me. Right. That really is what love is. So I can't love my people unless I let God do something in their life.
It's a good word. Good. It's a good heritage to have as a pastor for someone to tell that story about you and remember that about you. So guys, as you're young, man, create those kinds of stories. Make those kinds of histories. Leave that kind of wake in your path. People say, not necessarily, man, what a great leader, but what a great shepherd. What a great, kind person.
Yes, amen.
That's what they remember. Same thing with my dad. You knew my dad.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And people, all they remember is Brother Harry's kindness, his gentleness, his compassion. He loved everybody and leaned into all kinds of awkward, believe me. And so I struggle with that, frankly. I really do. So I pray that I'll get better, and I'll pray that you get better.
Amen.
All right, let's wrap this up and by simply saying thank you for spending time with us, and hope this has been helpful to you and that you've learned from it, and take the notes. and just go over them over and over and over again. It'll make you a better person and a better pastor, we hope. Also, feel free to go to our Facebook page and leave comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know what you think about what we're doing. And if you've got any suggestions on some topics that we can cover, we'll be more than happy to take a look at that and see what we can do. Thanks to the North American Mission Board for making this possible. We're grateful for that. And we thank you for being part of our family.
Thanks for joining us today on Revitalize and Replant. This podcast is brought to you by the North American Mission Board, where we help dying or struggling churches regain health for the glory of God and the good of their communities. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. To learn more about becoming a replanting pastor or to explore resources about revitalization for your own church, visit churchreplanters.com.